It is the Anfield Wrap in association with RedsBet. RedsBet, where 50% of their profits go to fan-related causes. When you sign up, do select the fan-related cause that you'd want to do with Liverpool Football Club. There's loads of options there from all over the world. See whichever one you fancy and go from there. I've done Brighton just because that's the way I live. It's what I'm about.
Liverpool Supporters Club?
Yeah.
Not just Brighton.
Not just the city. No, the city's all right.
Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah, they're doing well. That's that one. There's some Anfield Wrap news coming up in the middle of this, just to give you a heads up about that as well. But John Gibbons, Adam, Melia and Rob Gutmann all in the room to talk about Fulham 1, Liverpool 2. And Rob Gutmann, how's your bottle?
I don't know where my bottle. I left it on a doorstep some time ago. My bottle's long gone.
It was hard work, that, wasn't it?
It was hard work. And well, we talked about this just before. I thought the dream had died. I have thought several times this season. Well, there's several times this season you fear it's dying, but you then tell yourself, oh, well, there's still another 30 to play. When I thought the dream had died on game 6 or something. But now we're in a phase of the season where we either win the league or the dream dies. There are no other scenarios, and one of those scenarios is truly terrible. And I got an insight into what it might actually feel like. I had a truly terrible... How long between their equaliser and the goal?
Only about 6 minutes, mate.
Felt like a fucking year.
Didn't it just?
It felt like it. So that was a grim 6 minutes. And upon equalising, I held my lad like we'd survived the fucking war. And I went, it's okay now. It'll be okay now. But it might not be.
Well, my irritation, John, is that, listen, there's ways Liverpool can and can't win this league this season, and I think that we wouldn't surprise me if we drop points at some point between now and the end of the season again, but we still remain in contention. That's the way this is going to work. It's what a title running is. But my thing was, not here, not now, not off the way this game has gone.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, because they haven't really looked like scoring, and then we gifted them one. And so, although I was a little bit frustrated, say on 60 at 1-0, I was thinking, yeah, but we're just going to win 1-0 and that's fine. Teams have been 1-0 in winnings, all the time, really. And so I was a bit frustrated that we hadn't dealt with certain situations better from an attacking point of view. That we'd wasted certain good opportunities. But at the same time, I was thinking, well, we'll just win 1-0, and then we'll, the international break, and then we'll come back after that, hopefully stronger. And then, so when they scored, I was really like, oh, just, the frustration. But at the same time, I was like, well, let's see what they're about, you know what I mean? And they showed it to an extent, didn't they? They get the goal, well, to a massive extent, really. They get the goal, they get the penalty, they find their way to win, and that's kind of, shows they got plenty about them. And I thought they were kind of fairly relaxed throughout the whole thing as well. Like, maybe a little bit too relaxed at certain times, but it's better than being nervy as hell.
Maybe they were too. I'll actually come back to you, John, before I bring Adam in on this. I think I get the 2 relaxed points. First half, they seemed so certain they were going to get a second goal, if you know what I mean. I think the assuredness of them after they go 1-1 is hugely impressive. I would have liked a bit more intensity, a bit more of let's get this sorted out on 35. To be honest with you, I was, if I was being critical of them, I would not at any point say that they were nervy. If anything, I would say that they were just too relaxed. Yeah,
and the goal's so easy. I mean, it's not an easy goal to score because it involves a lot of skill, but they make it look so easy, make it seem so easy. I think they think, oh, we'll just do that again in a bit. Yeah. And then it sort of doesn't quite happen, really. And because of the way Fulham play as well, I think Fulham are a funny team. Like, they're not rubbish. They're actually just quite good, but almost a little bit too good. Like, if they were worse, they'd just dog it more. Because they've got sort of good footballers and they're trying. They're like sort of a Liverpool light, but very light. And I think I sort of admired what they were trying to do, but knew it was destined for failure. And so it was kind of like, you watch it. But I think there was a little bit of that. Like, they were playing so much from the back. They were going, oh, this is going to be great. We're definitely going to hit them on the counter here. Do you know what I mean? And then so it was, I think there was just a little bit of that, really. But as I say, winning 1-0 would have been fine. And that's what's really frustrating about the goal, is that we give them one, really, because they don't particularly look like breaking us down.
Adam, it was everything. It was, the constants, the fact that we seem to play every single match now in 17 different forms of weather is. I don't know how this has happened to us, but that it appears to be we're going to spend this running like the Truman Show, where it's raining only on him.
Could you understand, Rob? Sorry, Hannibal talk in a minute. How in the ground, how wet we were getting when we were so undercover.
I don't get that. No, it was, and it was so open on the side to the elements. Oh, that's right, because the wind was blowing from our left. It was to our left.
So I was looking at the roof, which went for miles forward, and then I was like, "How am I getting so wet?" It was ridiculous.
Did it come across on telly? There was a lot of weather again. You're absolutely right.
There was an unbelievable amount of weather.
I feel like that little fella outside Old Trafford. I'll say it again. It's Ferguson. it's the ghostly Ferguson.
Like the Truman Show. Give them 10 minutes of this.
Yeah,
no, that's not working.
Let's see how they cope.
Get the sun out. Right in his eyes.
It felt like that against Burnley. It felt like, right, we got to throw out all the stops. When Truman's trying to get out of town, it's that bit, isn't it? There's tidal waves. Yeah.
It's Adam. It was a real test for them, and they do come through at the other side. The frustration will be, and it'll be the thing that we keep saying, is that they should be home and hosed by the break. But European hangovers are a thing. It is a thing that happens. That even though they do waltz through the last 15 against Munich, there's still a lot of emotional energy that gets put into that result at
concentration, Munich. All that sort of thing. You know, it was a game. It was a huge game in a huge stadium right up to the end. Whatever, you know, however we did manage to get a 2-goal cushion. I think you sort of can't decide whether there was more tiredness, more kind of complacency, or more just relaxedness. Because I think it's probably some players were tired, some players were a bit complacent, and some players are genuinely just always relaxed.
Yeah.
And I think that's it led to a thing where I was sounding the clanging chimes of doom when, you know, during the first half, because I could see that it's one of them where Brighton were. Sorry, not Brighton. Who is it we're playing
Fulham.
again? Fulham. I keep doing that this season. It's just the pressure of it all. I don't know who we've played. I think we've them. The teams. It's because Brighton did the same thing when they came to Anfield. That's why I've said that. They're trying to make it a 20-minute game, and so when we are on top, we sort of lulled into a false sense of security. It's not always a false sense, but we're in a sense of security because we think, well, we have got time to score. And I just think there's something. It turns into a bit of a negative cycle where we aren't complacent to start with, even though it might look like it, and then as time goes by, actually we are now. So I was concerned because there was some players there that were. I don't know, like nobody played badly, but there's Lallana who's kind of plays all right, but I think he's just not quite on the wavelength, and that's why you see him getting in the way. And there's Trent, who was just hot and cold, and Robertson, who was really, really consistent, but at the same time, kind of it's just inches basically away from a couple of things where you're saying it's a man of the match, possibly performance from Robertson, but he just doesn't kick the ball right, kind of thing. So it's again kind of left to the absolute man of the moment, who is dragging us to, if we are going to win something, it's going to be because of Mane, because that's what, and it's going to be because of all the things he's done since Christmas. I
really like that. If Sadio Mane was in the room now, he'd be the person who wants to win the league the most.
Yeah,
and I really like that. Like, I'd have thought it'd been Rob, I'll be honest with you, but Sadio Mane, he's having us all off.
He's absolutely desperate to win his title.
Taken the league by the scruff of the neck, hasn't he? I thought they were generally a quarter of a yard short from the get-go. All our passing was just a little bit behind the man. It was a couple of inches in it all. Firmino had a phase where he was frustrating the life out of me. He couldn't put one pass right. And it's not for one to try, and I do think it's hugely about Munich. I mean, there's European hangovers, and there's European hangovers after you've gone to a place like the Allianz Arena and had to give it the game of your life. The reason that last 15 minutes are coast is because both teams are on their knees. I mean, and the people who worked hardest for us with our front three, I felt. I mean, we watched it together, Neil, and I said to you, this is going to have a knock-on effect.
In Munich, yeah.
Yeah. I thought maybe at the end of the day, with the result being so fantastic in Munich, that maybe adrenaline would have got us through with more power and more convincingly against Fulham. But it is very, very difficult. This is why, you know, without getting into transfers too much, this is why you can do with another lad every now and again, maybe two. Otherwise, you're going to have to put up with stuff like that and just be grateful that they still know how to win.
It was some penalty at the end, Rob, in that I think he anticipates that the keeper's going to dive because the keeper's going to feel like he's got to make amends. To make amends, he's got to make a spectacular save. To make a spectacular save, he's going to have to dive. And I think that he reads that quite well. Obviously, it's not the best penalty you've ever seen, but you could see what it meant to them on the pitch. You could hear what it meant off the pitch. It did seem like a bit of a... and you saw at the final whistle what it meant to those Liverpool players.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the footage back afterwards. I think Mane's thing, you don't see that very often. It's sinking to his knees in victory, in relief, in victory. Just to reprise what you just said about him wanting him, that was special. We, it did go off that end. As I said, I was holding my lad like it was the end of days, so I can't even tell you. I sort of came up for air and found people still bouncing, and I'll give it another couple of minutes. Yeah, and it was all a bit surreal. I have to say, there was a part of me that was a bit numb come the end of it. Not obviously, and Relieved didn't even cover it. I think it's just that we are there. We're still there, and this thing goes on. And this is whether people like it or not, it is a scary phase now because we're very, very close to an achievement here. What's it? 7 games? 7 games for achievement. Do you know what I think? If I can digress slightly on something. I think the result in Munich has changed the course of our season again because it has the potential to relax us if we let it.
Definitely.
Because I looked at the odds of winning the European Cup and the League. If you now combine them, we're odds on to win one of those two. Not by much, but odds on to win one of those two trophies because we've got through Munich, because we've got a good draw. So we're in a good position. And that's an incredible thing to deal with. This season, odds on could finish happily, and I don't know if I can handle it.
There is, John. I think that's sort of the one thing that there's positives to be taken, but I think that one of the positives to be taken is that it's another galvanizer. I think a little bit that they'll feel as though they saw the game out. They didn't make it 3-1, but in threatening to make it 3-1, they made 2-1 safer, which I think is something to remember. That they didn't see that game out by heading things clear. They saw that game out by being exceptionally threatening on the counter. But I think you saw it everywhere. You saw it from every single player, from the manager. You'll have saw it better than I did. That they feel as though they've come together and got one in the bag there.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't think it necessarily has a knock-on effect for the next game because there's the international break now, and then we go to Spurs. But I think the next time someone pulls us back, which to be fair doesn't happen that much, but the next time that I suppose it was a case of Leicester and West Ham was that, wasn't it? Then we don't go on to get the winner. You think next time maybe that'll help them. Maybe they'll think you for Fulham. So if we go to Cardiff, for example, and they pull us back to 1 each, it's like, well, we'll just do what we did at Fulham. And I think that does help a team, and I think that does happen, and I think it does kind of have that psychological effect really, because as Rob says, that felt big for the players. Trent celebrated kind of wildly at full time as well, and I think they know what a big result that is, and it puts us back top as well. And there's that kind of psychological thing as well. The Man City have got 2 weeks now looking at Liverpool at the top of the table, and they can talk about games in hand all they want, but that's what the Football League looks like.
I'd hate that. I know I'd hate that. It's difficult to imagine it when it's the other team, but I would hate that 2 weeks of looking at the table and it's not you at the top.
Yeah. We're doing some great work in the international break. Talking to Ferguson.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Salah's swerving. Have you seen Andy Robertson's going to the dentist?
Yeah. He needs to go to the dentist.
No, it was the only appointment he had. Yeah, no, that night. Yeah, 8 o'clock.
The dentist. Has Salah dropped as well, has he?
Salah swerved at ages ago.
They announced it a month or so ago that he was off.
Yeah, it was before they put the tickets on sale. They warned everyone that you're not getting Mo.
I've looked at Mane's more importantly now. They've got 2. They play Friday night it's a big qualifier against the number 2 team, but then the one on the Tuesday night's a friendly against Mali. I'm thinking they can get him out of that one.
So he's going off on the 89th minute with something that he's felt.
Something's been
yeah.
The stress is going to happen, isn't it?
The dentist though.
The dentist is absolutely brilliant. Yeah. He's going to miss Kazakhstan because of the dentist.
Yeah.
It's tremendous. It is great work.
You can really pull it off with a British player as well. I think that you can convince somebody from Guinea who's going to the dentist. They don't need to.
The sort of like numb feeling that you were describing, Rob. I don't know about numb for me, but I guess it's that. It's that we knew that we had to win against Burnley and Fulham, and we were really hoping to do something in Munich, and sort of having done it all, it's like you're there, and now you've got to pause, and it's not exactly a numb feeling. It's just like we've marched on, and now we have to pause.
It's set up, isn't it, though, Adam? I mean, what the thing I'd say is, and for me, that's why these 2 games were so huge, the Burnley and the Fulham. Was the
shouldn't be games. Forgotten how huge we said they were. Now we've won them.
Exactly.
I always think
Very
this.
True.
Yes.
That we said this Fulham game is absolutely huge, and it was, and we did it. So it's one of them where you can't celebrate achievement. When's the parade? We beat Fulham, but it was a huge thing that we did there yesterday.
Oh yeah, I said before Munich to anyone who wanted to listen to me that I think Fulham was the bigger game than Munich.
Yeah.
Just what in the context of that season on Monday morning, Fulham was the bigger game.
And we won them both, Rob.
And we won all.
What a gang of lads.
Well, we won all three. We won all three, and that's the thing. It sets up the idea of seven league games that get to feel like cup finals, and then a cup run that gets to feel like a relief from these other 7 things that are going on over here. But which will be prove absolutely fantastic, as well, as Rob says. Opening the scoring, Adam, the amount of room out wide was. I mean, it was very much like watching Rafa's blanket metaphor in action. Scott Parker had decided exactly how big his blanket was, and no matter how much Fosu Mensah might have wanted to come and cover some space, Callum Chambers was saying, "You are standing right next to me under all circumstances." It was unbelievable, really. If we pick our passes a little bit better, there's so much room to move into from those wide areas, is what I'd say, with the ball. And the one time we do, it's the time we score.
Yeah, I think and it needed to be just a little bit better with passing the ball to where the people were going to be instead of where they were, because Fulham were all there. They were all narrow and deep, and you have to use movement to beat that, which was what Mane knew. He's the biggest brain on the pitch. But yeah, it was. I mean, they picked up on that on Match of the Day too, as well. Just sort of how many times. I thought Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank was quite good, by the way. Match of the Day. I didn't see it. He was good. But just how many times there was acres and acres of space down those 2 flanks, especially Robertson's, or maybe we were just using Robertson's more. Because it was another one of those games where you've got on one side the link-up play between Robertson, Mane, Firmino, and then on the other side Trent's trying to ping things, which is that's the way we've been for much of this season. And Fulham, I heard them saying that the reason they got rid of Ranieri is because he was trying to make them defensive, but all he managed to do was put one more player in defence whilst weakening them in attack, and it hadn't even really improved the defence. And you can sort of see that. I think John was saying as well, they're kind of stuck between the 2 stools of what exactly to be, and that is sometimes what you see in teams who end up going down, is that the ones with good players who want to be a certain thing, and they're in a situation which means you can't really be in that. You can't do that.
It's at the moment that the thing about the goal, John, is it's like, as you said before, just do that then. That you've shown that you can do that, so just do that. Just find another way to do that. And it's from both flanks, really. The frustration is you don't really see them. You don't really see something like that almost happen again. You see other things almost happen, and they're all perfectly valid. But you don't see that sort of move done with that sort of aggression, snap, certainty done again right the way through the course of the game.
Yeah, you don't, and I'm not really sure why. Maybe it's just because it's harder than what we think it is, and maybe because they make it look easy doesn't mean it is. I don't know, maybe it's a case of, a few of the lads, Salah particularly, being a bit too keen to score, and I understand why that kind of is, really, but, maybe there's a kind of a little bit of that going on as well. I don't know, but I as I say, I fully expected them when they went 1-0 to be 2 up before half-time, and then to score 1 or 2 in second half as well, and it doesn't quite happen, and that's a bit frustrating, but as I say, I think that's more maybe because they were a little bit too calm, rather than, I just didn't think they saw Fulham scoring in them onto Sundays, and then we give him one.
There is something in the full-backs driving to the byline.
Sorry about turning into my mother there with the month of Sundays.
Month of Sundays, yeah.
It's month of Sundays for a while.
Yeah, I liked it. There's some full-backs driving to the byline. Robertson does it well. Maybe it's because he doesn't have the sort of backup that Robertson has. You would like to see a little bit more of it from Trent, I think, Rob. He ends up... The balls into the box just end up being a little bit meat and drink, maybe, for the foot. There's times where, even if they're good balls, they're probably sort of what the Fulham defence want you to do. They probably would rather you do that than do what we were trying to do on the left-hand side with that sort of snappy interplay. And even Trent himself, maybe sometimes it'd be nice to see him drive at the byline and see where he ends up.
I thought, and you do see it sometimes, that you see which coaches have decided who's the more... They're both, obviously, coaches look at Trent and Robertson. I'm quite sure at the beginning of the week they talk about our fullbacks more than they talk about the front three, because that's the route of where it all happens. And I think some of them decide Robertson's the main one, and some of them decide Trent is the main one. And I felt Trent was being shown inside all the time. So that the only times, so that when he got a bit of room out wide to whip one in, he was probably a little bit too... he wasn't deep enough into their half when he was doing it. I think they decided they were not going to let Trent get within 10 yards.
Not
of the
let him
goal
do
line.
what he did against Burnley, so Mane's header, I suppose.
Exactly. I think Fulham were concentrated on that. Sometimes I think Trent, as he gets older, needs to be, I hasten to use the word, a little bit braver and go, you can't just see me off like that. I like to have seen him with a bit more cleverer movement, just run between people and we'll look for cute 1-2s.
We didn't take a lot of people on, I think, over the course of the game.
No.
I think that doesn't help. I think if you imagine, Rob, you imagine yourself in the scenario where you look up and you see, well, if I beat one, there's another one.
Yeah.
And if I beat that, you know what I mean? Like when you got 3, it's one thing to think, well, I can run at a man and beat a man.
Yeah.
As long as I've got something the other side. I think it can be hard coming in from that wide angle to think, well, there's 3 of them there.
Yeah.
They're all in this little patch of space. So but maybe, just maybe every now and again, it's worth taking the risk, not least because it might create space somewhere else.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think that's what when managers talk about being brave on the ball, I think that's what you've got to do. I mean, maybe sometimes there's a conflict with Salah on Trent's side. Is Salah going to have the day where he accepts he's a brilliant winger, or is he going to have the day where he thinks he's a centre forward and will hit things in the 6-yard box? I think Trent needs Salah with him to overload to make it less of a challenge, less people to run
or
through.
Someone.
Yeah.
We don't talk about the midfield sometimes.
Yeah.
I think sometimes that we're being critical of the fullbacks, but they are still our main creative outlet, and it's days like that.
Milner's good at joining up.
So if Trent isn't going to use his other foot or take it round on the outside, then someone else just needs to help him out, or just do something unexpected from midfield, because the midfield is sort of still doing just what's expected, I guess.
I suppose it would have been Lallana's job. I mean, I'm thinking back to that goal against West Ham we scored, which is offside, but it's a good example with Milner getting down, working with the wide player before the cross comes in. I think Milner's particularly good at spotting that tactical issue and going wherever he's needed.
I'm surprised Trent doesn't shoot more, because he's obviously an attacking midfielder. He's been turned into a right back to get himself in the team. He's our best free kick taker, and I think sometimes especially when he's doing that drive sort of through midfield, if you like, when he's not wide and he's kind of driving forward like that, I think just have a go. I think as well, it gives them something else to think about as well. So when we're talking about the fact that you just show him inside, suddenly if someone's popping up from 25 yards and you're trying to show them inside, they just put the foot through it.
Just before you move on, John, my angle at Anfield, my season ticket, is when we're attacking the Anfield Road end. It's perfect for that, and it always just feels like Trent hasn't quite got the angle for a shot.
Yes,
I've talked about this at the match,
there too.
and I don't really know what. So it maybe it is that he needs to, like Gerrard's goal at Goodison where he sticks his tongue out. He kind of needs to do that. He needs to go outside and then put it in the far corner, which is definitely in his locker. But it just always feels like he hasn't quite got the. I don't know. He hasn't got the logistics out yet for a shot from there.
I think he's been at fullback. He's become institutionalised a little bit because in his younger days he would have done that more.
Yeah,
John?
massively,
Definitely.
Other thing, set pieces. John, I very much like Ben Jono's line from his ratings about 3 weeks back that Joel Matip has the penalty box instincts of Fowler and the finishing ability of, I think, Rob Jones, he said.
Yeah.
It's hugely frustrating the amount of times the ball falls into a Joel Matip-ish area and Joel is just about to find some sort of they're not even always new. Some sort of way to just miss the target yet again.
Yeah, I mean the one through his legs is unlucky. I think I'm not seeing it back, but
I'm always unlucky.
I know.
Honestly, right? He should be on about 7 for the season. Just for the last 3 weeks.
He should score the header. I'd say. I want to say
the
that was
first half
unlucky.
header, yeah.
I want to say he's unlucky because I'm about to slaughter him. So the header. I mean, you got to hit the target, and I think it stays in, doesn't it?
It's harder. It's harder to do what he did than to score.
I had a text conversation with Mike, who we know in Canada, and he said, first of all, I think he should just stay by Alisson, and then he realised that he'd be playing everyone on side, so he said instead sit in the corner flag, the opposite end to where the corner's being taken, like sitting facing the corner flag with his finger on his lips like a naughty child in school.
Yeah. Maybe
I mean, it genuinely, if his finishing improves, he'll get 3 between now and the end of the season if he keeps playing.
I mean, he's getting in the right areas, as a Shankly might say.
Has he scored one? He scored one. He scored against Southampton.
Yeah.
He's got a goal in him.
He has got a goal in him.
He has now scored that goal.
He's making the space. No, he should do better with that header, definitely. Certainly better than not even getting a
If we win the league, he'll score the goal that wins us the league.
Wow, imagine.
Joey's back next week anyway.
Who is?
Joey Gomez.
Everyone's back on.
We might never see him again. We might never see Matip's exasperated.
Imagine if they're all back and they're all Klopp decides, yeah, they're fine to go, they're good to go. No warning.
Be fine.
Chamberlain's in, Gomez is in. We have this new team. This is really good.
That could happen. It was getting frustrating by half time. We'll have a chat about the second half, about Fabinho's yellow and the immediate foul that follows. All of that will be coming in a minute or two, and how that knocks on effect to the game. But first, a message from us. Neil Atkinson and John Gibbons here with an Anfield Wrap based announcement. First and foremost, we are hopeful that our app will be available from mid-April. Mid-April is our target. Mid-April covers a multitude of sins, doesn't it, John?
Yeah, we were saying before, anything from the 5th to maybe even into May.
Yeah, we've been made with a company called Pixelbeard. It'd be in the absolute business. If it's late, it will be because of us, not because of them. Let me be absolutely crystal clear on that. They've been absolutely terrific, and we couldn't have asked any more of them. It looks great.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. I've not been massively involved, to be honest, which has been quite nice, but I've just kind of seen development to go, oh yeah, very pretty. What I really like about it is that it's just very straightforward and it's very easy to use, and it just does exactly what you want it to do very quickly. And so I think everyone's going to enjoy it, everyone's going to like it and like using it, and it's going to give people kind of almost instant access to everything we do, which is great. That
is indeed what the purpose of it is. It's to become the main place to get your Anfield Wrap content. The main place to get your Anfield Wrap content if you're a subscriber, the main place to get your Anfield Wrap content if you're a free listener. The writing is on there, video is on there, and audio is on there. All of everything we do will be on there, no matter where you are as a subscriber. What we're doing for the first time since March 2015, or April 2015 more accurately, we started doing Tour Player in March 2015, but we didn't start paying for it until April 2015. What we're looking to do is shift the price points. So there will be, obviously, free users will have all the free content that they currently are able to enjoy, with the exception of some of the video, which I'll come on to. The next thing that will be happening is there'll be a skeleton service at £5 for audio. So that £5 will be remaining. For all audio, the price is going to be going to £7, the Anfield Wrap, £7 a month. All video will be £7 a month, and both the premium package will be £10 a month. We're not going to be shy about this, really, are we, John? We think it's good enough for people to get behind the £10 a month package. That's what we want. That's what we've been working towards. That's what we've been doing with all the video, and that's the journey. The audio's gone on since 2015. I don't think the audio's ever been better than it is right now.
No, that's right. And I think those of you who've been with us on the journey since the start will have seen that we've always tried to invest in what we do, both in terms of studios and both in terms of physical equipment, but also in people. You know, we've grown the number of staff. We've got the office in Man Island because we think it's important to be in the heart of the city and be part of Liverpool's community as much as it is to make great content. Yeah. And we've got really big ambitions in terms of what we want to do with this video project, but also in terms of the audio, kind of telling more stories, getting more involved, you know, being more ambitious, because we believe in fan media. We believe the fan media is the best way to kind of tell these stories, and we think you do too. So the price is going up, but we're confident it's worth it. We're confident that you're going to think it's worth it, and we're also confident you'll see where that money goes over the next 12 months.
Absolutely. So you'll be able to see everything that we're doing. Video, we've already seen the videos that we've been doing around the matches, post-match pints. That'll be going behind the paywall, as will Second Look and as will the preview show. And we've got some additional video formats there as well. Part of why we've moved and are partnering with StatsBomb is to develop a stat show that we can put out once or even twice a week if it comes together as we hope. And we want the video as well to be of the standard that you'd feel as though you can put it onto your televisions. So you'll be able to do things like Chromecasting and Applecast, whatever that's called. I'll probably misname that, to be honest with you. I don't have an Apple device. But you'll be able to put it on television as well and be able to watch it through those apps by using your phones. We're really, really excited about it. We're excited about the new phase. It's been something we've been working on now for, I'd probably say 12 to 18 months in terms of planning. So, it will be mid-April. We will tell you more and more as we get closer and closer, but they will be the new price points for the Anfield Wrap. Free users, please do come through the app. It will be the best way to get your Anfield Wrap content. I promise you that. And then if you are a £5 customer, you'll remain a £5 customer, and you'll have to move yourselves to 7, 7 or 10. And we'll be working out the genuine full-on logistics of that. That is all to come. But we do think the £10 level will be worth it. Get back over to the show now with Rob and Adam back in the room. Welcome back. Fabinho's yellow, it happens before half-time, John, but I actually think the knock-on effect it has is very much in the second half of the game. So he gets his yellow card, and then he makes a tackle that's similar-ish about 60 seconds later, and you just sort of get the impression that puts him on a list somewhere, if you know what I mean. It's not a yellow. The second one is not a yellow. The first one probably is. But maybe if he hasn't had a yellow for the first one, the referee might have given him a yellow for the second one. But what it means is the knock-on effect is he spends the entirety of the second half not feeling like he can go to ground.
Yeah, and I think that happens sometimes in a game. You just need to manage it, and you just need to adapt. And I thought he did pretty well. I was surprised to see him get the full 90. Milner was warming up at half time, wasn't he? And I thought, he might just hook him now. And then I think if it wasn't for the fact that he doesn't think Lallana's got 90 in him, and then obviously there's other subs then he wants to make from an attacking point of view that he's kind of left with Fabinho. We feel like, that sounds negative. I think Fabinho manages it okay.
I think his height's important. Because they play a lot of bombs. They really started to go really long.
Henderson was on the bench.
I think he might have done it. Because I think he has an issue that he doesn't want to go shorter in that area of the pitch when a lot of what they're doing is big bombs out to Babel to
it would have been a big shout to put Gini there under the circumstances, wasn't it? But I'm sure it was on his mind, and I think it was probably on his mind at half time when he sends Milner out, unless Milner just fancied him running the rain because he's mad. But yeah, it was. I thought he did all right second half, and I think it's a shame, when any player has to curtail themselves a little bit to their full impact. But I thought he managed it pretty well. There wasn't a moment where you were worried second half, was there? In terms of attack,
yeah, he was. Adam, there's a couple of times when he's just not. For instance, when they get that breakaway 3-on-1, it's Fabinho who's running at their lad to make that, and that creates it a 3-on-1. And the right thing to do, if you haven't got a yellow card in that instance, is to get booked. That is the right thing to do. But he
I was screaming for Salah to take one at one point, but
I was screaming at Trent at one point. I think I just wanted him to take a really slow throw in. It's a big slideys are a big part of his game, aren't they?
Oh,
yeah.
So if he can't do his slideys, you can see that there's a bit missing from his armoury.
Telescopic legs.
He's brilliant at them, and you're right, Neil. The problem was not particularly anything to do with the second one being. It was just because it was right after, and all the Fulham players had said that's the same. And so the referees then just got it like it sort of has to be the next one. I mean, he could maybe have risked one towards the end, but it was one of them where you've just seen two quick yellow cards, haven't you? And it's one of them things where football players and referees just know what football's like, and he had to work really, really hard not to fall into that story, because you've seen that story before, so everybody kind of knows it's natural. And it's just hard, and he did really, really well. I mean, I think that it would have felt like if you'd have taken him out, it would have been a midfield that you've told stories about in the past and not good ones kind of thing. You could imagine a bad Lallana, Wijnaldum, Milner story, can't you? Away, especially.
Yeah.
He had to stay in there, and I just think he's a bit irreplaceable at the minute, actually. And I think that I wasn't happy when he wasn't picked on Wednesday. I sort of forgot about it till just now that he was dropped or whatever, or rested, because I understood it towards the end of the Bayern Munich game, because he was the one who I thought really did look a bit tired and looked like he needed a break. And then there was no option but to play him yesterday. And considering he does get the yellow card, do we think it was a yellow card?
I think it's a yellow card.
Yeah, probably is a yellow card. It's like
it's
like straight.
Under the pitch.
It's a sort of straight leg thing.
I think I'm furious if that's the other way around and we don't get it and he doesn't get booked.
Yeah, he wasn't bad. I suppose Pawson, was he?
He wasn't bad, Pawson. He was not bad.
But I just think he is a bit irreplaceable at the minute, is what I'm saying.
Rob, it was. I think he plays really well. Regardless, I think you can see him shifting the ball left and right. If anything, maybe a little too eager to play. Again, how you fall into the trap of ending up just being pushed out wide so often is interesting, isn't it? That both Van Dijk and Fabinho play balls that look absolutely fantastic, but they put us back to where we're not actually creating that much from, if you see what I mean. And that can be harsh, because you could say, well, it's what happens next there. But there's times where you wouldn't mind seeing them, or seeing people in general do a little bit more. I'm trying to think of the right word, really. Maybe just firing it into the feet of people directly in front of them.
Wijnaldum's shot's brilliant, for example.
Yeah, that's in there.
That's in. We were celebrating the end was up, wasn't it?
Yeah,
he was in.
It's in all the replays.
It's mad how it's in, right up to the point at which it goes wide.
Yeah.
I still don't know how.
It just allows it somehow.
It almost doesn't go wide. It like goes through the post, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Even
Gini was
Ferguson.
Gini sort of knew it wasn't. It's not a sitter because it's 25 yards or something.
It's a good chance, isn't it?
It's a good chance. It's a lovely.
Well, it's not a sitter, but he does.
He perfectly
does what he was planning to do.
Yes, and he goes, how can that not be the goal that I had in my head? Yeah, it was crazy. That's just after he's got 2-1 up, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's funny. You know, I came out of the game thinking, we had a few chances even before we went 2-1. No, all the great chances happened at 2-1 up.
Salah one as
We had a
well.
great
Salah
last 10 minutes.
But we also, what we did do, Rob, is we did build up a little bit of a head of steam second half. I think they were clearly told to go out and get this sorted, will you?
Control was lovely for the first 15, I thought.
Considering that was when the weather was at its worst.
Yeah.
I thought we actually got worse when the sun came out.
Yeah, well, it seemed to change. The game seemed to change very suddenly. We came out, I thought, exactly the right attitude. We're better than in the first half. We're at it. This is controlling. This is biding our time. And then, as Klopp says, they somehow get encouragement from nowhere, and at least that bit where they have the goal disallowed just beforehand.
And well, there's a break before they have the goal disallowed. So it isn't, because in my head I'm sort of thinking, am I just blaming Milner? Because they kind of blamed Milner as a joke afterwards, but he has come on a few times and just been shite for 5 minutes. Awful. Like he should just go away for 5 minutes and just run around, not pass the ball or kick anyone. Until his head's in the game. But we brought the subs on because there was something had changed, and Fulham suddenly just had a sniff.
I think they change it. To be fair to Parker, I think one of the markers of this. So there's two things that happen, and you can't work out whether or not it's psychological. I think that the Mane header, it's almost with this that hits the bar, it almost punctuates the end of this spell of pressure. Like, we've had a real go here, we've done everything but create a clear-cut chance. Your man's just had a header, it's hit the bar. Right, we need to have a breather for a bit. And I was wondering if it was sort of one of them. But I think the other thing that happens is Fulham go 4-4-2, bring Sessegnon on wide left, and we just sort of struggle to quite work out what it is they've done. Babel goes up front, and I actually think that fair play to Fulham. It was clearly sort of a move he had in mind, but when he does it, John, it actually works quite well for them, and they're not the better side for the sort of 5 to 10 minutes that follow Sessegnon coming on. But they are in the game a lot more. They are more dangerous.
Yeah, they are in the game more, and I think, as I say, they've obviously sort of got good players. But I still always felt that we'd weather it, and that's, as I say, the frustration of the goal really is that even when they were getting sort of more into it, they get the goal, it's ruled out, but it's a bit of a fluke how it happens, isn't it? It's like it's a strange set of events that if you'd have conceded that goal, you'd have been, wow, how on earth. So it wasn't like sort of great play as such, and so Sessegnon's a good footballer, isn't he? And he sort of looked to get into the game. I thought the Babel switch to centre forward worked well, because I don't think he was giving his full back kind of loads of kind of support, and I think Trent was getting joy from freedom from
they dropped Mitrovic deep to win headers basically to Babel, and it did sort of work.
It does work. All of that does sort of happen. The counter they have with Salah and Van Dijk charging back, Rob, is, firstly, it just shows there's a lot of Mohamed Salah talk at the minute, and I think he is, I think he very much just would like to score a goal. I think he sees that as his job for this Liverpool team. But I think that you see in that, that charging back there, that's someone who's completely committed to the wider cause. You mentioned before about Mane dropping to his knees, and John said that no one wants to win a league more than Sadio Mane. But in that little moment there, these footballers know what it means. I think they know what's on the line here. I think it's imbued in them from the manager, but I don't think it's just that. I think they are absolutely fully committed to doing everything they can to see this Liverpool team through, and you see that from Salah there.
Yeah, there's no one can doubt the commitment. So that would be crazy, I think, at this stage for anyone to think it's that. And I don't think there's a nerves issue. I think Salah's fighting a private battle at times, only at times. I mean, I think in recent weeks, this non-scoring phase has been, instructional, because I think he's been brilliant at times in this non-scoring phase. I thought against Munich, you could see how, because in a way, because it was Bayern Munich, it's such a tough game where he doesn't walk onto the pitch thinking, this is a day where Mohamed Salah definitely scores. He was happy to play, companion role to Mane and that one. But I think Fulham, he had sort of, whether subconsciously or consciously, set his mind to getting a backing amongst the goals. And there were a couple of moments where you thought, this isn't the best for the team here, Mohamed. You're just going down a certain route. Although, of course, he has to score near the end. That chance that Mane gives him, it would be nice. That have made the day seem very different.
I think it was that as well, that Mane's done the thing that Salah should have done as well. Like, Mane's so unselfish and just plays the perfect pass for the team.
He's humiliated him with that pass, hasn't he?
Kind of. But yeah, I mean, he's just really serious. He is, when you say it's a job, he sees his team as scoring for the teams as his job. I think he is really serious about it being a job. He's not like Firmino. You couldn't imagine him scoring a no-look goal, could you?
No.
He's like, and so he is. he can get himself in a bit of a funk.
He's an intense.
Yeah, he is intense.
isn't he?
He is an intense person. And yeah, I think that I don't know. I just hope he doesn't properly get his head down, because he's still being really, really good. And that was the first time, like you say, that was the first time yesterday where you think, oh, actually, I've been saying for a few weeks, it doesn't matter that he didn't score because he was brilliant. Both home games, he's been fantastic, I think, and against Bayern Munich. And it's been like, okay, well, he's going to score the next one. And that's the first time yesterday where you kind of thought, uh-oh, like I don't
think it matters though. Well, of course it matters, but in a certain sense,
it sort of doesn't.
His personal demons. I think he'll be able to, from here on in. We're now, all
they're not going to stop.
aside.
They're not going to stop putting two defenders on him, are they?
No.
Teams and that. I think to be honest, it hasn't looked as much like he's going to score in away games, and I think the home games. I'm sure he'll score at Anfield soon.
I think there's no doubt when he gets on his run last season, there has to come moments for him where whatever players say, it has to be about themselves as individuals. They want to go. He wants to go on the pitch. He wants to score 50-odd goals. Whereas I think now he's in a team zone. This is all about what the team does here. Everybody can subjugate themselves, and it's not a big ask because medals are in sight.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I think I'm not worried too much about Mo Salah, because I think he's playing well, and I think you've seen in the past with lots of strikers that they go through kind of little runs where it doesn't quite happen. You look at Ian Rush's goal scoring record and how good it was, but it wasn't perfectly laid out over the period of time, was it? It was he scored 4 against Everton one time, pretty sure. There's a song.
Can't argue with the facts.
And so. Yeah, so I'm not particularly worried about him really. As you just hope that it's not kind of doing his own head. And I think he's probably looking at the Premier League top scorers and thinking, how tight it is, and thinking, well, I'm still 31. I should be walking this. You know what I mean? I think that's probably frustrating him a little bit. But Tottenham feel like he's got a good record against Tottenham. Scores the best goal in the world against them once,
which is forgotten.
Because of stupid Harry Kane.
Very annoying.
A great forgotten one of the great forgotten goals. The goal that we concede then. Adam, everybody is culpable. I think that's like, there's lots of, I think it's really interesting when everyone starts to, because Virgil's Virgil and Alisson's Alisson and James Milner's James Milner. It's fair to say that all three of them are fucking crap for it.
Awful. Yeah. And I don't know. The more I watch it, I'm not sure which I'm more leaning towards.
I don't think you have to lean. I think we can just say they're all crap for it.
Like the coalition government.
It's horrible conspiracy of circumstances. That's why I came away thinking this is the cruel moment of fate, because it isn't a goal unless all three are perfectly crap for it. They are all just. Babel
does not want to score. Right? No, that's the most I've ever seen someone not want to score since like that Dennis Law footage when he relegates Man United.
You really think watching Ryan go, if you really didn't want to score it that much, we were all.
He couldn't miss.
I think it's so hard.
All he can do is trip over the ball or something, but even that's difficult.
It's really funny.
He's not moving already.
It's really funny with Babel because he really does not want to score that goal on any level.
Want to. He gives the ball to Virgil instead. There you go.
Yeah. Take a quick one.
I thought that was his only real move. I thought was to watching it back was to blam it into the post, like absolutely leather it, but it hits the post and comes back. But he just had to score.
Yeah. I don't know. Van Dijk should do a better header. Alisson should just pick it up. I don't know, but
I don't know why Van Dijk's shouting at Alisson in the first.
No, I know that was my first initial reaction when watching the replays is what is it he's even expecting there? He can't. Yeah. It's not in the area. He can't come and get it. There's that lad's going to beat him to it,
doesn't he?
But it's not going fast enough. Babel's going to beat him to it if he empties it.
Virgil's to deal with that, and I think that sort of spooks Alisson a bit, although he should still do better.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It is an absolute. It's actually funny to look. Well, it's not funny to look back on for me particularly, but I liked how much Virgil was just laughing through the post-match interview. I think Virgil post-match interviews are a big energy. I love it.
Yeah,
because he just basically always tells the interviewer that they're wrong. Like, what did you think about that, Virgil? Like, nah, no, it wasn't like that. We're top.
Why are you still talking about this?
Yeah, it is like that. It was ages ago that.
Everyone's crap.
Yeah, I've only watched it back the once, and I can't remember exactly what happened. Something happened weird. I hate to use this one again, but something weird happens with the wind, and maybe we shouldn't, because there's a point where Virgil's, after Milner slices it, where I think Virgil's does his "I've got this" face, and then something happens, and he doesn't like to be unhinged. You know what I mean? It's something slightly disturbs him. I don't know. It's a very, very fluky goal. It just is, and I'm glad in a way it happened to the best players, because we can now move on.
I think part of it, John, and I think that the whole team, I think, has a really good 5 after the goal. But I think in that Fulham really are tails up. Suddenly they can think they can get 3 points, which is interesting. But I think that Alisson and Van Dijk do, later on, not that long after Alisson plays that one across the box to Van Dijk. But they do have this they both have the ability to go, yeah, that's just one of them, we're moving on. And I think that's partially because they are the best players. I think it's partially, even to a certain extent, because of the price tags. But I think there's just an assurance with them that, that's happened. There's a football match now, we're getting on with this.
Yeah, I think both teams sort of played like they had nothing to lose, really. And I think that's what was interesting with Fulham. I think if Fulham were in more of a relegation battle, then they'd have probably maybe took a point. But because they're essentially down, they went, well, so we'll just try and win. And I think that suited us a bit. And I think for Liverpool, we just didn't have time to feel sorry for ourselves. And I think that's how we saw them or why we saw them reacting that way, is that, it was late-ish in the game. It was like, well, we just need to go win this now, or
was it 73 minutes,
something like that. Yeah.
It was almost a sweet spot.
Yeah.
Say it's 10 minutes earlier.
Yeah.
I think you tell yourself you've got half an hour, and you fuck around for 28 minutes, right? And time just go. Whereas that was almost like, it's how you've got to play.
Enough time to keep playing the same football.
Yeah.
At 73 minutes, you've got to treat it like there's 2 minutes to go, but you actually got 17 minutes of it. Well, 20.
Yeah. You have to sprint, basically.
So you have to really get a wriggle on, and you've got more time than you think. It's good. I've talked myself into this.
Well, time to concede. Well in mind.
I guess it kind of makes me worry a little bit about our next European hangover away is Cardiff, because they won't be like Fulham are. I don't know. It made me wonder.
Are they a bit shit?
Well, they are, but they if the same happened to them, they would probably settle for the draw.
They also know that they're really bad.
Yeah.
The Cardiff's greatest strength is that they sort of know that a side that were exceptionally lucky to come up, and they scrap for absolutely everything. I think that Cardiff away has got potential.
Playing in Chimes of Doom.
Could really do without Cardiff away. But that's
Wednesday, Sunday, that one, isn't it? Yeah, similar.
Yeah, that said, I think that, it's also, you don't know where Cardiff could by that point need to win. It is worth pointing that out. It would have been quite nice if Burnley could have done a decent thing at the weekend and beaten 10-man Leicester in order to create a little bit of a gap there.
Somebody needs to say one game at a time. I know I started this.
Do you know what would be really super? I'm template that we do Porto properly in that first.
I know.
leg.
I was going to say
smashing.
That, yeah.
Do that again.
I don't think that'll happen.
Bob's going to be chanting, we want 8 and 0-0.
On.
Just really quick, they should make it 3-1 on the counter, John. They have opportunities to do so. But the other thing is, and I think that this, again, Rob mentioned there, the wind before. I think the other thing that happens at 2-1 is Fulham suddenly remember they're absolutely exhausted. And I think we talk a lot, I'm frustrated with our first half performance, but the one thing that we do over and over again is we make Fulham have to make loads and loads of short, sharp sprints. And we make them work, we make them graph, we make them move side to side, and I think you just see them visibly wilt around 85, like, this is so hard. When can this stop?
Yeah, I thought both teams would put a real shift in first half. I don't think the quality was necessarily the highest, but I thought that, there was two teams really going for it in terms of their energy, in terms of their efforts, and I think, they were looking to close down and sort of counter press as much as we were, and I think, I was watching that thinking, it's going to be tough to keep going here, and some of these players.
Robertson, lung busting run. It's no wonder he's got toothache, John. Teeth rattling runs up that left.
So it's a lot, gums. As you say, it's a lot for any team to kind of cope with, really, and I think there was at times, especially when it goes to 2-1, because 1-1, you've got a bit of adrenaline. And then the penalty happens, and the way it happens, and it must have been a frustrating. You talk about our goal being an annoying one to concede. That penalty's. If you Scott
Doesn't
Parker,
he pat it down or something?
Yeah, and he makes a mess of it, and then does that thing where it's like an outfield player who makes a bad touch and then just clatters him.
It's because he's got a big white glove as well. You can see that big white
Mickey
glove
Mouse.
on the red shirt. Mickey Mouse's hand. There was no way it's not a pen, because if his glove was red, they might not give it him.
Grass.
Huge.
Gloves are grass. Yeah, so I think they, as you say, the adrenaline goes then on that, and then they go, hang on, we're absolutely exhausted here, and we're not very good.
One of those defenders makes a brilliant clearance where it's just keeper's ball, and just comes right across just towards the end of the game, and it's as though he's just basically gone, I think you're crap. He's really, the way he clears it is, I think you're crap now. I don't want you to be anywhere near this ball. I'm charging 10
my
yards.
ball. He goes, no, it isn't.
No, it isn't. None of them are your ball anymore, sir.
Well, that punch he does, where he's got no one within 8 yards of him.
I know.
He's so on his own.
Yeah, I was still delighted. I was like, yeah, come on. It's still alive. Oh, but what I did like is, I mean, again, I'm not seeing this back in any detail, but when he puts his arm across Manny's like, there's a split second, Manny goes, I can't believe he's just done that. Flings himself.
He celebrates winning the pen as well, which you don't always see.
Did he?
Yeah. You could see him smiling away with someone.
I'd love to see someone do a proper celebration, like a routine. A really presumptive routine with 2 or 3 of them getting involved.
Do it in the NFL,
no, but we will just watch.
Like Bebeto's baby.
Exactly.
A graphic came up during the game, Adam, watching it on television, and it said Liverpool this season in the league, 16 out of 16. They'd won whilst leading from half time, and they go on and they make it 17 out of 17. There's a lot of people who are quite determined and will be quite determined if Liverpool don't win this title to talk about it being as though it's some sort of mental failing of Liverpool. I actually think the thing I'm most impressed with this side from and this season, and I'm going right the way back to, for instance, Leicester away in September, is how well they've ensured they firstly win the games that they should win, and secondly how well they've seen so many of these second halves out. I think it showed a staggering level of maturity, to be honest.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of, if you're talking about comparing it to last season, you've got to say, shout out to the defensive thing that we know we're going to concede none or one basically most games, and that breeds such a confidence, and the issue going forward is kind of can we score 3 every game, and I know Sean's been saying it on the review. I think it's absolutely spot on that as these things get tighter and tighter. I don't believe that's going to fail. I think we will still concede none or one most games, and it means that we can look at us conceding a goal and it just be all right, like a tennis player losing a point or a game. You back to your line, go, and I think that's where we are, and nerves are rattling in certain areas, and you can see that in certain areas of the pitch. So it's just about whether we can keep doing the things at the other end.
I don't think this group of players could have done any more.
No, I
think they've all done exceptionally, this group of players, and if we don't win the league or we don't win a trophy, it's because, well, first of all, this Man City team are absolutely unreal as well, and secondly, maybe they needed a bit more help, and I think that's what they'll look at in the summer.
I'm saying they're crap, by the way, John.
Sound okay.
Swansea, so don't worry.
Well, I'll pick them up and you slaughter them, and we'll see which one works.
Useless.
Can't believe that Pep's pinning Adam Media's comments to the dressing room wall.
But what I'm trying to say is, I don't think you can look at this group of players and how the managers use this group of players and say they can't have done any more this season. They've done everything. They've been absolutely exceptional, both in terms of what they've done with the ball and what they've done kind of, emotionally and how driven they've been and how determined they've been and how much they've believed from early days that they could win it when everyone else was saying, nah, it's Man City's. And I think they've done exceptionally well. And as I say, if we don't win the league, it's nothing negative at all to do with the players that we've got in this squad.
Quick quiz question. 3 sides this season have scored more than 1 goal against Liverpool. Name them.
Crystal Palace.
Yep, 3 leagues.
Burnley.
Crystal Palace.
Burnley.
Did they?
Burnley and Manchester City.
That's it. They're the only 3 sides that have scored more than 1 goal against Liverpool in the league this season.
And we won 2 of them.
It is worth pointing out that we won 2 of them.
Is it just PSG?
And PSG in Europe. They scored.
2 of them have got to play City.
They got either side. They got 2 in both games against us, Paris Saint-Germain, and apart from that, that's it. That's the only sides that have scored more than 1 goal against us. 7 to go, Rob. It's fantastic, I'd say. You know, this
Should
is
have a show
what
about it.
John said. Well, what John's
I think a
saying.
bit of an overview.
I think that might happen, Rob. That's on the list.
Hosting.
Yeah, I could do that.
It's not the idea of trying to manage through those now. I don't want to talk about that. You will do that on the overview.
Oh,
it
geez,
is just this is the position they put themselves in, as John's saying. They've given themselves. There's this international break. Some of them have got to go away on international duty. Others have got big dentist appointments to look forward to. But they've got to come back now, and it's 7 opportunities to become the side that wins Liverpool's 19th title. 7 opportunities to do that.
It is now a tangible amount of games. I think with 14 or 16, you go, that's a run-in. The run starts here. Then you go, or even 10 games. 10 games from greatness, 10 games. 7 is tangible. You can, I mean, you probably won't, but you can set your stall. Let's just win all 7. Or when you're saying you win, I'm just going to win the next game. Before you know it, you've won 4 or 5 on the bounce, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. It is ridiculously close. They are genuinely cup finals now, because we are at the point where it's going to go from us very, very soon, and there's not going to be, there's time to get it back. We're running out of time to get it back if it goes from us. But if we win football matches, any football match soon in your neighbourhood, we might actually end up winning a league title. I'm very glad that Tottenham one's next in a way, because I think it's what it needs. Anfield, Tottenham, like a European night, but on a Sunday after Mother's Day.
I'd rather play Tottenham at home next than Fulham away again.
I think so, in a way.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 4 home, 3 away as well, Adam. 4 home, 3 away. Win your home games.
Yeah, and
It's always been thus.
And I think that you can really see there is a difference in how we're playing our home games to how we're playing our away games, which just made me worry a little bit, obviously, about the away games. But I think
only 3 of the fuckers.
Yeah, there's only 3 of them, and there's that weird stat about them being on small pitches as well, and we're good on small pitches. Did you see that one? That's weird. Yeah,
good.
Did you see that one?
I saw that one. I'm fine with it. Yeah,
it's fine. We're at 2.9 points per game on small pitches, and like 1.6 on big ones. I don't know.
It's because Anfield's a small pitch.
No, I know, and I've actually thought it for a while that like going to Old Trafford is partly why it's a bit of a nightmare, and also cup finals. Anyway,
Wolves getting to an FA Cup final would be nice.
Yeah,
that feels like it helped.
We can do all of that. There is all of this to come. There is the fact that every single game makes you feel as though you're alive. Everyone can have a couple of days off from living this dream / nightmare / whatever it actually is, this thing that consumes your thoughts in your life. So everyone can have a couple of days off and just sort of clear their heads and feel as though, yeah, this is what we're in it for. Thank you very much to Adam, Melia, to John Gibbons, to Rob Gutmann. Thank you very much to our partners, Redsbet. Do sort of tell your friends about the app thing. We're exceptionally excited about it. It does look drop dead gorgeous. So do look forward to that as well. All that to come, as well as 7 games. 7 games where Liverpool can win their 19th title. 7 games is all you could have ever have asked for before a ball was kicked this season. No one can ask any more of Liverpool, not even themselves.